Have you ever gone along with something because someone else persuaded you to do so? Or done something that when it was all said and done, you kind of wished you hadn't done it, but you did it anyway because a friend or someone who you wanted to impress was telling you should do it. I can remember once when I was young and I never liked being scared, and my friends we were at a sleepover and we all wanted to go outside and look around and just basically to get scared because we knew that my friend's older brother was out there and he was going to wait just to give us a good scare. And I thought, this is so dumb, I don't want to do this. But I still went out with everyone else and wished I hadn't when it was all said and done, because I think Father Michael needed a new pair of shorts after that night. But it's the kind of thing that we're prone to do, especially when it comes to sin. A lot of times when we sin, we do it because we want to impress another person, or that we feel like we don't have a choice because this is what we're being led to do, or our temptations are so strong that we can't do anything other than the sin that comes out. But we always feel terrible about it when it's all said and done, and we always think, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Jesus is talking to the Jews, or the Jewish leaders today, and he says that everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Everyone who sins is a slave to sin. When we sin, there's something about it that feels like we don't have a choice in it. There's something about it that makes us feel like I'm a slave to this or that, especially if we find ourselves in vices or sins that we commit over and over. We feel like we're slaves. But he says a slave doesn't stay in a house forever, but a son does. A son does stay in the house forever. So he's inviting us, calling us to live as sons. But to live as sons, we must be free. Jesus says we must be free. And what he says is that to be free, we must live in his word, to live in the word of the Son of God. And that word is the word of truth. In our first reading from the book of the prophet Daniel, we hear these three young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who are thrown into this fiery hot furnace because they will not consent to worshiping another god than their own God, the God of Israel. And so they're thrown into this furnace, and then all of a sudden there appears another one in there with them, one who appears like a son, one who appears as a son of man. And it looks as though that they are dancing and singing in the midst of the flames. This Son of Man is there protecting and sustaining the other three because they will not sin. That's an image of what it looks like for us to live in a world where there is sin rampant, where we are tempted to sin, where we could be burned by sin, but we choose to live in the word of truth, in the word of the Son of Man, the Son of God, Jesus. So Jesus today is inviting us not to live as slaves of sin anymore, but to live as sons and daughters, so that we might live in the house of our good Father forever, the Father who offers us all blessing, the Father who calls us sons.